Hey there, it's Kalyn with a Paper Smooches card tutorial. Today I'm using the Blossoming Bud stamp set as well as the dies that coordinate with it. And I'm also using the Hullabaloo stamp set. I'm just using a stripe element from that set. So first I'm taking my dies and cutting out one of the floral clusters using some white cardstock, and that's going to serve as one of my focal points. I'm using black soot distressing from Tim Holtz to stamp this first image, and you'll see after I place it down on the die cut I also flip it over and just kind of press that down with my fingers on the other side just to make sure I get a nice clear impression. Here are the Copic marker colors that I'm using. So I'm just going to color in this entire image using some pinks, oranges, and some greens. And I was really inspired by a picture I saw on a fashion blog, and I've actually pinned it to one of my Pinterest boards, and I'm going to link that image in the description bar below so you can see exactly how I was inspired. But the image features a really pretty floral dress, and then she's also wearing a black and white striped coat over top. So that's where I got the idea for this card. I just find sometimes when I'm stumped for inspiration that obviously Pinterest is such a great place to go for that. So that really inspired this whole card and also my color scheme. So that's why I chose these colors. They were the closest that I had to the colors in the image, and they also are just really springy and really nice, and so I thought that they would go perfect for this. Now I'm taking this solid rectangle image from the Hullabaloo stamp set, and it's actually probably supposed to be a candle, but I am using it just as a little stripe because I'm just going to be doing a short horizontal stripe along the left side of the card as a nice kind of border, and that's going to bring out the black and white stripe from that inspiration image that I mentioned. So I'm just using the same black ink that I used earlier and starting to do this border. And I'm sure you could be way more precise with this and maybe measure it out, but I'm just kind of eyeballing it and I think it turns out fine. I did notice though that my card was moving a lot, so before I kept going with this, I thought it's better to be cautious, and I took out some washi tape and just taped my card down because I knew that it was going to be wiggling around and that I could end up with kind of a disaster. So you'll just see me tape that down there and then stamp the rest of my stripes. And they don't stamp perfectly. My surface is a little bit uneven, so they kind of have a little bit of distressing, I guess, that just sort of happened naturally. And I kind of liked the way that that looked, that they weren't exactly perfect and solid. So you'll just see me finish that here. After stamping my striped border, I decided that I really wanted a second flower cluster, that the one just wasn't going to be enough to really evoke the feeling that I got from the image. So I decided to take the other flower cluster in the Blossoming Bud set and do another focal point using that. So I die cut it out just like I did the first time from some white cardstock, and going to stamp down my image using black ink and then color it with the same colors that I did for the first flower cluster. I have my 2 flower groupings together, all stamped and colored and die cut out, I'm just sort of placing them how I think I'm going to arrange them and then decide where my sentiment is going to be on the card. So I'm using the word lovely from the same stamp set and just figuring out the exact spacing I'm going to need to make sure that the whole word is visible on the card, including the little swirl after the Y. So just figuring that out, and then I'm going to stamp that down. Now I'm going to be taking the word your and just placing that right in the little space between the L and the Y of the word lovely. So just mounting that on my block and stamping that word down. So now that my sentiment is in place, I'm just playing around with my 2 die cuts to see how exactly I want them arranged. I went back and forth and just had to play around with them a lot until I found a placement that I was satisfied with. So then just taking my Tombow Mono multi-glue and adhering the 2 pieces down. I thought the card needed just a little bit of something extra, so I decided to take my corner rounder punch and just round the top right corner of the card. I just think it gives it kind of a nice direction and focus. So that is it for today's card. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to check out Paper Smooches for the stamps and dies that I used, and also subscribe to my channel if you want to see all my latest crafty videos.